I think Riot have trolled the community with ISO. He's billed and marketed as this 1v5 carry agent perfectly made for all those all-aim, no-brain Reyna players, but in reality, I don't even think he's really a duelist, and here's why. Every other duelist in Valorant has some form of simple utility that grants them advantages in 1v1 situations. Flashes, movement abilities, angle clearing utility, you name it. But the closest ISO gets is a vulnerable that still requires you to dry swing an angle to try and capitalize on. In fact, let's start with ISO's vulnerable Undercut. This ability is straight up a support and counter push ability, and it's actually pretty powerful. Vulnerable makes enemies melt to low econ weapons, rifle body shots, and allied mollies or throwable damage utility. The best case scenarios for using Undercut are when you are defending a choke point and can hit several enemy players as they try to flood onto site while allies spray them down. Undercut makes Sova shock darts incredible, as well as every allied molly or explosive. The ability gets significantly worse on attack and probably is best used to equalized low buy rounds where you're just trying to run down enemies in entrenched positions with frenzies and stingers. Killing somebody from medium range with a single classic right click brings back those warm fuzzies of the get that free gun out of the game era of 2021 Valorant.
Mid? Okay.
Market.
Market. You gotta trade back.
In traders? What the fuck? He just classicked me. Wait, what?
What the fuck?
Is that a classic? What is that? What is that gun? What the?
We lost. No.
Contingency is ISO's moving shield wall, which draws its closest parallel to Harbor's Cascade, but it's infinitely worse as a smoke since you can't control when it stops and it's extremely narrow. The ability seems almost entirely useless on defense outside of maybe throwing it at advancing enemies and trying to pick them off as the wall passes through them, but still shields you from the rest of their team that's still running up behind them. On attack, it's actually a pretty decent tool at advancing through some pretty specific parts of pretty specific maps, and with a bit of well-coordinated ally utility, it can actually be pretty hard to stop a rushing team just sending it up places like C-Long on Haven or some of the bind lanes. But if we're comparing this to other choke point breaking abilities such as Yoru's Gate Crash, Jet's Dash, or Raze's Satcheling, there's just no contest. It's not a duelist ability. I will say that I think there is some mechanical tech here to master on Contingency to get a bit more value from it, and I'm going to trademark this as the ISO swing for all of you highlight montage makers, so make sure you give me credit for that. Basically, the shield spawns a couple of steps in front of your player model and moves at the same speed as a player running with a rifle out. This means that if you simply throw the wall and run behind it, you will not be close enough to the wall to be protected from the sides, which means that you only have this tiny little shield in front of you. So the best way to actually use this to swing out into the open is to throw the wall, switch to your knife, and catch up to the wall, almost touching it before swapping back to your weapon. This allows you to scale up quickly and check some of the side 50-50 angles one at a time while being protected from long range fire. However, none of this really sounds like a duelist ability to me, and once again, it's probably the type of ability that should be thrown to help teammates instead of just selfishly using it to take a single duel. Double tap is really the meat of where the duelist claims lie for ISO, because it's the ability that lets you smurf on worse players and punish horrible coordination in rank. In higher levels of play though, there's just almost no time to shoot the shield orbs while running into a firefight, since people are gonna be swinging to trade you almost instantly, and a single tick of damage removes the shield, so it doesn't really give you a true reset on the next fight the way that Reyna's Dismiss or Jet's Dash does. If you ask me, double tap is probably one of the better lurking abilities in the game, since those are the situations where you can often get an almost guaranteed 1v1 with ample time before someone else swings out to shoot you. This makes even more sense when you can use the approach of enemy footsteps as a cue to activate double tap to avoid wasting a charge of it.
Over there.
Long,
Destabilizing.
I think.
I guess that's it.
Then, once you've secured the kill and the shield, you become a huge issue for the other team on the flank, since they have to now worry about this invincible player charging in from behind. If they only send a single player back to deal with you, then it just kind of feeds into the snowball potential of double tap's ability to take over the round, since it's just another advantage fight for you and another shield very likely. If they send multiple players to try and trade you out, then your team should be able to easily take the weakened site. It's worth remembering as well that while both double tap and dismiss/devour require a kill to get any value at all, at least Reyna can actually enable herself to get those kills in the first place with a leer. So yeah, ISO appears to have 2 support abilities and a lurking one, which doesn't really synergize that well together. Maybe if they let you plant ISO's shield to activate like a Yoru clone so it runs out in front of your team while you lurk somewhere else, then you could kind of lean into the lurking style and also still help your team. But let's go ahead and talk about Kill Contract. Surprisingly, this is probably ISO's most versatile ability, considering it puts you in a simple 1v1 aim duel. But the possibilities of this ult are actually incredible. Obviously, if you're some sort of aim demon, then you have the ability to regularly give your team a player advantage almost at will, because it's really easy to hit this ability. And since the ultimate counts as being used before you get the kill, you actually start building back into it immediately, meaning that if you're winning your aim duels, it kind of only costs 6 orbs. But beyond just being an aim god, you can do lots of other things like snatch Vipers out of their ults, take away and annihilate an opping chamber, or root out a player with a judge abusing a tight corner. One of the coolest things about the ability is that in basic terms, Valorant is a game where attackers want to hit the site that has less players on it. Going into a site on Ascent, for example, in a 5v2 is way better than going in a 5v3. And with ISO's ultimate, you can make any site with 3 players on it a site with 2 players on it. Even if you lose the duel, it's so easy to trade out the returning enemy, assuming that you have coordinated the attack with your allies' rush into the site. I've also found the ability to be really strong at helping teammates from across the map on defense when the attackers are executing onto their site. It's almost like you can teleport there and help fight by removing a player from that push. Sometimes you even grab an important person about to use some critical piece of utility or an ultimate and completely disrupt the push, allowing your teammates to fight more fairly and then trade out the returned player if you do happen to lose the 1v1. Kill Contract is a really weird ability. Like, it's kind of a duelist type thing to be able to get a free kill, but it's not really that free to get, and I've been finding it's much more of an initiator style execute tool or anti-execute ability than anything else. And really, you want to be using this in situations where even if you do lose the duel, you still get value out of it for your team. After playing about 30 games of ISO and spending hours and hours of time theory crafting this agent, I think Riot has probably just pulled another fast one on us. It's kind of like that Scooby-Doo meme where they sent us a cool duelist that everyone wants to pick, but hey, surprise, it's actually just an initiator under the hood. And they'd probably have gotten away with it too if it wasn't for this meddling YouTuber. I'll show you my initial tier list on the maps that I think ISO should be played on in just a second, but first, I really have to tell you guys about something. On Saturday, November 25th, I am going to be hosting the very first Aimers Guild tournament in Valorant. What is that, you may ask? Well, it's an open 1v1 aim duel tournament where I'll be giving away $500 to the winner. No abilities, just raw mechanics, and to make it extra spicy, every duel in this one is going to be an ISO Kill Contract 1v1. I'll be hosting an open lobby qualifier where anyone can show up and take their shot at proving that they are the best aimer in the game. By the end of the day, we'll have crowned a champion, and be sure to join the Discord down below for more details on the rules of how to play. Oh yeah, I promised you all a map tier list, so here you go.